Hi, I'm Amy Lynn, and this is Being Crone. Today, I'm talking about what it means to be a sitter, not a meditator, not a babysitter, a sitter, the person on the other side of a mediumship reading. Because here's the thing nobody really tells you. How you show up to a reading matters. There are essentially three kinds of sitters, in my mind's eye anyways: the helper, the wall, and the honest sitter. We're going to talk about all three. The helper is the one who wants it to work so badly that they start filling in the gaps. The medium starts off, says something vague like someone who loved gardening. And then the helper says, "Oh yes, my grandma, she had a garden. Well, it was more of a yard really, but she did grow tomatoes. Does that count?" The helper is essentially doing the medium's job for them. And the problem with that, apart from exhausting yourself, is that you walk away not really knowing what actually happened during your reading. If you recognize yourself here, here's the one thing that will change everything. Just stick to yes, no, or I don't know. That's it. That's your whole job in those moments. A clear yes is worth more than a paragraph of context. Your medium doesn't need the story. They need the confirmation. There may be time at the end to talk, to share, to validate further, but in the moment of the reading, the yes is enough. Now, the wall is the opposite. Arms crossed, face neutral, daring the medium to prove something. Every piece of information is met with possibly, or maybe nothing at all. Here's the thing about the wall. Skepticism is healthy. I mean that. But there's a version of skepticism that's actually just a closed door wearing a lab coat. And if you go into a reading determined not to be moved, well, you probably won't be. That's not evidence of anything except a very firm decision. So if this is you, and be honest, it's worth asking, why are you having the reading anyway? Because here's what I'll say. Most good mediums will accept your skepticism entirely. We're not offended by it. We're not trying to convert you to anything. The reading is for you, not for us. Now, the honest sitter. This is the middle path. It's simpler than it sounds. An honest sitter confirms what is accurate and says so clearly. An honest sitter says they don't recognize something when they don't. An honest sitter doesn't reach, they don't invent connections, and don't perform certainty they don't actually feel. That's it. That's the whole job. A few practical things worth knowing before you sit. You absolutely can go into a reading with questions. You can ask for a specific person, someone particular you're hoping to hear from. You can also say you don't want to hear from someone specific. That's okay too. Completely legitimate. And a good medium will hear you. What mediumship is not, though, is a Q&A. It isn't a structured interview where you work through the list and the medium answers each one in turn. The medium's job is to bring specific, verifiable information. And that process, well, it has its own direction. That said, if you come in with something you really need to ask, a good medium is going to listen. Listen, we're not inflexible. We're just not fortune tellers either. You don't need to tell the medium anything up front. A good evidential medium is not looking for your help. If they are, if the reading feels like it depends heavily on what you're volunteering, pay attention to that. It's just my suggestion. So, you are allowed to say, I don't know. Not everything will land. Some things will make sense later. Some things genuinely just won't ever apply. An honest sitter says so, and a good medium keeps going. And finally, give yourself some time after. A good reading tends to stay with you. Most sitters want to talk it through with family, friends, somebody they trust. And that's completely natural. Process it however it feels right to you. But what I will say is this: sometimes a no in the room becomes a yes on the drive home. Something lands later, a name clicks, a detail makes sense once you've had a minute away from the nerves of sitting. If that happens, reach out to your medium, an email, a message, whatever works. That retrospective validation matters. It matters to the integrity of the work. And honestly, it's one of the kindest things a sitter can do. You don't have to make it mean more than it does, and you don't have to make it mean less. Being a good sitter isn't about being a believer. It isn't even about being a skeptic. It's about being honest. Honest about what you recognize, honest about what you don't. Honest about what you're hoping for, even if just with yourself. That openness, that willingness to just be present and truthful is exactly the kind of sitting that makes a reading worth having. If you want to go deeper on what evidential mediumship is, according to me, and why integrity in this work matters, that video is linked below. And I want to do a short share. I want to talk about that no that later turns into a yes. And kind of, I don't know, build a story or a foundation around why that happens. So we're nervous in sittings, or at least I am. I have been. And I was working with a medium. She was reading me. And let me tell you, we were in the reading and she said a name and I was like, I don't know, it doesn't ring a bell. But wildly, 3 hours later, I'm in the grocery store and I don't know, epiphany, it hit me. She said my grandmother's name. She literally said her name and I said, I don't know, I don't recognize it. It was wild, but it's what happens when we're nervous and we got a lot of things going on in our mind. It's pretty natural. It's pretty normal. So I wanted to share that. I think it was important to this video. All right. Know yourself. Own your knowing. Trust your good work. That's the whole spell.